Good morning and welcome to this Higher Space hosted virtual meeting, which will take your morning. And thank you for joining. Expert. Okay, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk for this next 10 or 15 minute session about the codependency right across the supply chain. And we particularly wanted to talk about people who are working in a commercial event space. We talked earlier on about how difficult it is to actually go out and look to brands or corporates or any commercial contributor to a piece of event delivery to get their buy-in at this time. So we wanted to have a particular conversation about that outreach in terms of sponsorship. So can we come, please, and ask that first question to Kieran about that, how difficult is it at this moment in time to work collaboratively across the supply chain? And I suppose the question I'm asking, how hard is it to have normal conversations with partners about the future? That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, great question. It is a difficult time to have new conversations. We've actually decided our strategy at the moment, rather than approach new brands, because I think understandably a lot of partners and corporates out there are actually looking to kind of steady their own ships. Obviously, there's some great brands out there who are doing quite well out of this crisis. Zoom, for example, I've seen their stock prices, I think, quadruple, which is fair enough because everyone's jumping on. But I think what it is showing is that there is still value to be added to current partners if you can figure out what their objectives are. Partnerships and sponsorships should always be about solving business objectives rather than just bringing in straight revenue, which is obviously a difficult thing in the first instance. So I think that my advice at this time in the partnership space is to engage with your current partners and figure out where their pain points are. And if you as an event can solve those through your existing assets, like I said before, digitally, access to audience or content creation, in the future it will come back around. But I think at this time it's more about having those conversations about what you can do to help them in the short term. And then once the ship starts to steady, I think in the long term, those conversations will obviously revolve around event integration once again.
Really, in plain terms, how difficult is that to have those conversations with people? How difficult is it to actually pick up the phone and not appear to be trying to capitalize out of the situation? How hard is it to essentially sell at the moment?
Very hard. I'm not approaching any new brands to try and broker new partnerships. I just don't think it's going to be possible. Fair play if you're doing that, but you're going to have to really showcase how you can help them with a serious problem that they've got or really add some value. So it's an extremely difficult time to be approaching new companies and trying to broker those partnerships.
So when you're phoning people that you're in existing partnerships with, what are you saying to them? Just, hi, how are you? How is it for you? What can we help with? Is that the track?
Yeah, pretty much. You'd hope that you've got a good enough relationship with them that you could just pick up the phone and have a fairly informal conversation. That's the point of the partnership, is that you're developing relationships and providing them value. That's why they're a partner. So simply just picking up the phone or dropping them an email and arranging a call to see how things are going their side. Is there anything that they think they could utilize in terms of their rights at the moment that they want to do to kind of keep their brand front and center in the audience? And if not, I think it's just about being very transparent and open that let's stay in touch, and when you're ready, let's do something together.
Okay, thank you. Max, you work in this area as well, though, don't you? So can you answer the same question, really, in terms of how you're talking to people who you work in partnership with at this moment in time? How hard is that?
Well, strangely, I've almost found that it's been easier to talk to people because I'm finding people to be much more authentic. So everyone is in the same boat. Everyone is scared, everyone is apprehensive, everyone's nervous. So in the first days, everyone kind of closed ranks. What can I get for me? How can I protect myself? And then just as the dust began to settle, everyone realized that the only way we were going to get out of this was together, essentially. So I found myself having conversations more with actual people rather than job titles. If that's not a weird, I would say, oh, it must be hard for you at home with your 3-year-old. Oh, it must be tricky because I know you live X, Y, Z. So I think that, commerciality is always going to be front and center, but hopefully if you can be more authentic with people and push your value in less than pounds and pence, then hopefully in the long term, it's going to give you advantage. I think under times of stress, it really reveals what people are actually like. So hopefully if you can be more authentic with people, that will improve things in the longer term.
So I think, that's quite a good answer, isn't it? You're actually saying that there's suddenly more common ground for conversations to happen, and more opportunity to build relationships with people at this time.
I think so. I think if you can retain true to your personal self, then that will become so much more transparent in these times. And actually, because people have got ever so slightly more time on their hands, rather than just going, oh, it's a sales call, phone down, yeah, send me the email, send me a PDF, phone down, they're actually kind of taking the time to listen to you. And hopefully when opportunities do come through, you can show that value in the short term. Because, my clients and our clients at the moment, I'm not trying to sell them anything in the immediacy. Actually, what I am interested in with a lot of them is a genuine, just how are you? Are you okay? Have you got like any worries? It's sort of quite nice in a strange way, really.
Okay, to be authentic is really what we're saying. It has to be authentic. It has to be to your own self. Can I ask you both one more question before we go back to Ed for questions from the forum, please? So are we going to see, or can you anticipate that we're going to see new commercial models arising from this when we start to recover? Is there, we're pretty good, we're event professionals, we're pretty good at being creative in situations like this. So do you think that the commercial models that underpin partnerships currently will change, and that we will see different models emerging? Kieran, could you answer that one for me?
Yeah, sure. I think we'll see a bigger emphasis on the commercial assets that can be provided outside of event integration. So I mentioned it earlier, but there is a lot of value that events can provide to a partner that doesn't just involve your typical branding at an event, a speaker slot, but more about understanding. I think it's going to go back to the original case of how your partnership should develop, and it needs to be about providing them a solution to their specific business objectives. So I think it will be more about developing a wider pool and a wider campaign between the brand and the event owner as to how they can solve those objectives. So I think the focus will always be on event integration, but I think you can actually provide more value outside of the event. So hopefully events will start to become a bit more innovative and outside thinking in terms of their approach with partners.
Good. Thank you, Max. Same question to you, please. So, Kieran's saying that there's opportunities to be more creative in our collaborations.
Yeah, I thought that I'd written down notes on a similar theme, really. I think I was speaking with Kieran just very briefly over email, and I was saying it's actually nice to have like a couple of, a few days off just to actually take a step back, work out what am I good at, what am I bad at, what are my strengths, who are the suppliers who I actually care about, rather than who actually I've worked with for years just out of necessity. What are they bringing to me? I think as an industry we've got to be really careful, because we've been peddling this message for 20 or 30 years that physical contact and meeting people in the real world is so incredibly important. So we suddenly don't want to spin on that sixpence and say virtual events is where it's at, it's amazing, and then come September, October, November, December time, oh, it's all about physical events again. You won't do your reputation any good in the short term by changing tact. So I think actually what is massively beneficial is just a tiny bit of breathing space to work out, what are we really great at as a business, and then hopefully work out how you can push that in the longer term.
No, thank you. It's that authentic self, isn't it? Spin on a sixpence. That's a good way of saying it. Let's not change our colours in a moment of crisis and get found out further down the line a little bit, isn't it? I think that's good advice. So, Ed, questions on that partnership piece from the forum.
Yeah, absolutely, Jenny. So we had a question which is quite simply, how important are events and experiences to any business or any brand's marketing strategy going forward, and do we have to make this case at the moment as an industry?
So I'm from a sponsorship agency, and obviously typically most of our clients are in the events industry. I think in the short term, there is obviously still a place for event partners and sponsors. I think what it's giving everyone in the events industry, and what I'd kind of encourage people to do, is to think about the assets that you normally provide a partner that aren't focused around those live event integration. So there's a lot of different things you can still provide a partner with that provide value. Your online assets, access to audience, content creation, for example, that will still mean people can get engaged with your brand and your event. Obviously, moving forward, I would say that actually this has shown how important events are to brands and to partners and to people that want to get involved in that space more than ever, purely because we can't do anything right now. So I think moving forward from a strategic point of view, you will see that the events industry boom again, I hope, in the future. It's just obviously a bit of a difficult time for everyone at the moment.
Thank you. Ed, is there a last question before we go for a break? Last question from the forum.
Sure, some great questions on the floor. So one question is, what special sponsorship opportunities are there for brands at the moment during this crisis? And then another question, which is kind of specifically related to virtual events, which is, how can I effectively sell sponsorship for my virtual events?
Great questions, to be fair, Max. So I think from the special opportunities, for me, I think content is one of the main ones. Everyone's I mean, we're always very digital, we're always very online, but I think people are literally working from home non-stop now and constantly on media channels and paying more attention to those emails that come through in those newsletters, because we are trying to find time to do stuff. So therefore, I think there is an opportunity for partners to integrate onto that content if it's providing value to their audience. For example, we're working with Kidzania, which is obviously an indoor venue for kids, and they're doing loads of stuff to keep kids engaged and provide parents the tools to keep their children engaged. There's a great opportunity for brands to integrate there and actually provide some content and some capabilities to kind of help with that, which adds value to their audience. So I think for me, I write a lot about content a lot, but I do think there's a great opportunity there.
But again, to be careful how you pitch this so that it's not just seen to be opportunistic and making something of the crisis.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely a fine line. But I think as well, the rights owners themselves in the event, you guys have control over what goes out on your channel, and you also have control over the brands that you work with. So like Max said multiple times, if it's authentic, then it's great. And if it's adding value to your audience, it won't feel like you're just pushing that new opportunity on them. It'll feel like actually you're trying to help them.
Thank you. Thank you. Ed, back to you. Can you just remind us of that, the other question, because it was a good one. I'm going to put it to Max.
So there's the question about effectively selling sponsorship for virtual events.
That was it, wasn't it? Max, can you answer that one? Do you have a view on that? You might not answer this specific sponsorship piece, but do you have a view on whether or not that's a good thing, or tips on how to do that?
Well, I think this one might be a Kieran question as well, to be honest. I could fill in if you want, but I feel like he's going to have more value to add here if I'm honest.
Okay, Kieran, we're going to send it back over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to pitch in on that one. I think to be honest, it's a really tough sell at the moment. It's going to be, for me, it's going to be difficult to not feel like you're just trying to capitalize on making revenue in a situation like we're in. So therefore, I think what it comes down to, whatever your event was going to be, and if you're putting it online, if you feel that there are brands who could increase the engagement or make your event better, then you should approach them and work on a collaboration. But I don't personally think that it's going to be asking for £10,000 sponsorship of your event. I think it's going to be about value in kind, sharing content, maybe a collaboration event that you can do together. And the perfect examples are the two tech companies that HireSpace are working on with this. It provides back-end tech like Glisser where people can join in and feel like they're part of the event rather than just an outsider.
So thank you both very much indeed for your contribution. So let's move on. Thank you, Ed, for the questions from the forum. We're going to do another quick poll just to before we move on to the next session and the next speakers. So this is a multiple choice, 3 options for you. And we want to know if you think your business, your product or your service will be materially different when we find ourselves through the end of this, if you like, in a normal state, or at least in a new normal state. So you've got 3 options. Yes, you think it will be wholly different. No, you think it will be unchanged in essence, or you're not really sure yet. You're still thinking about what that might look like. So have a go on that poll on the side of the screen, and let's see what the general consensus is from the people who are online with us this morning. Indeed. Have a super rest of day. Take care, and we'll see you through another higher space opportunity very soon. Thanks a million.